Greeting interwebs, this is JackitK, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to edit this into the video yet, but I want to make a video comparing and contrasting my two builds of this little indie game that I'm working on. Just to, not really planning on doing anything with it, but to become more familiar with the Godot engine so I can work my way towards bigger and better things. This first version here was done on my old computer, which couldn't run Godot 4, so I was using version 3 of Godot, specifically for what you're seeing on screen. Trying to remember exactly which versions they were, but I can't. Right off the bat, I'm glad I actually got better with menuing, because man, this looks pretty basic compared to what I already have. You got the start game, you got the quick game. This is on a browser, just so it's more easily accessible for people. But from past recordings, I kind of realized that kind of means that the quick game button just crashes the game. If you were actually to download this though, I'm sure quick game works just fine. So how about we just start things up, shall we? It does actually have some controller support, even in this version 3 build. Yeah, right off the bat, I'm already noticing, at least when I first played it, it was pretty slow and sluggish compared to what I'm working with currently. Unfortunately, I've already gotten used to it, so it'll be kind of funny to go back into the newer version, but yeah, I do have some game design concepts. I did go to school for game design for 2 years. I would hope some of it retains. And here, so the concept here is to ease the players into the basic concept of jumping. You clear this pit, and you can jump in and out. This pit, however, you can't jump out of. You have to actually make the jump across. So you hop like that, good to go. And this one, try as you might, you can't jump over to it. So this is where the main mechanic of Firebrand Dash comes in. Also, one thing I kind of miss from the newer builds, ridiculous coyote time. Kind of going back and forth of how much coyote time I should give to players. But that's a problem for the future. Right now, I gotta show off this game. So yeah, you get a little air dash if you press the dash button. And now that you know how to air dash, because that's the only way to clear that gap, first instinct with a new obstacle in the way is hopefully to try dashing. When you try walking, try jumping, none of that works, so you're just left the option to dash, and bam! You get rid of the bushes. But now there's bushes on our feet. Luckily, there is one other option that I haven't gotten over yet. If you press the stomp button or just dash twice, you stomp the ground, and with that, you can clear bushes that are underneath you. With only 3 different options to go between, I assume it wouldn't be too hard to actually pull off, considering the bushes on the ground look so similar to the bushes on the wall. Game design. One thing that I kind of miss from the newer builds that I just couldn't quite seem to replicate from the old versions because the physics are different. The satisfaction of just dashing into that jump. Hold on. It'll be worth it. Just dashing into the checkpoint post. Of course I get it first. Of course when I'm not hitting the recording button, I get it first try. There's no benefit to doing this, by the way. It's just a little gimmick that I like from that particular level. Now here you're introduced to the concept of gaps. Obviously you don't clear a jump, you get sent back to the start. Kind of basic. This is kind of where my design philosophy kind of fumbled. Concept I was trying to teach here is to try to make it impossible for you to do a normal air dash, and of course that fails. But the reason that I don't just give you more room to jump to make it easier to air dash to victory is because I want to kind of subtly hint to the player, hey, you can do an air dash just whenever you're in the air, not necessarily right after a jump. Anyways, aside from my one of my favorite levels of this older build. Test of Fate. Just like stomp down and time and dash as you're falling down. Perfectly so in time to actually make the jump to the goal. Yeah. And last, unfortunately least, is this level. It's the final level, so I wanted to try to make something tricky and like really get more mileage out of the stomp attack. Because not only does it break bushes that are beneath you, but like it immediately sends you downward. And in concept, the goal of that is to allow you to like cancel an air dash if you overshoot yourself. And execution is not that reliable, unfortunately. I think I improved the physics in the new version of this game. Of course I get first try when I'm just like... I guess it wasn't first try, but... The one benefit is that it definitely took longer the previous recording attempt at this. Another thing that's not in this version that I think is vastly improved in the newer one, you can't break the bushes from stomping down on them. I mean, you're attacking with fire either way, so that should be the case. But not in this basic issue. Anyways, I'm sure it's more like... I'm trying to remember everything I said in the old version, or in the old recording, and it's not really panning out that way. I guess I can just add it in post. Greetings interwebs, this is JackitK, and welcome to the Godot 4 build of Firebrand Dash. As you can see, we already have an options menu, so it's already a vast improvement. And I guess before we start the game I can go into that. Menuing is a pain in the butt, first and foremost I want to say. Took me forever just to get half of this, let alone all of this. And even then, like, I tried my best to get it to work fully with a controller. But there's still some kinks in the system, so I decided to just keep it simple and only let you move between the tabs by pressing left and right on the control stick. Someday I'll come back and actually finish making it so you can navigate through all these menus with a controller. But trust me, I tried, and things just got really wonky really fast. So I'm kind of figuring like, no, let's not. Where do I even start though? I guess to get the most annoying thing out of the way, this keyboard binding mess. So how it works, you click an option you want to remap, you press the key, and it remaps to that particular control setting. Now, this is a little under construction still. I believe this... Oh, I was still on the other option. So you can use the control stick still. Like, I have this whole separate keyboard control stick. So that part's not working fully yet. There's a little bit of an honor system, but in the future, I'll look into finding a way to lock it so you can only use keyboard buttons into the keyboard rebinding. And if you click on the controller binding, you can set these buttons separately. Like, this is the A button for me. I think like... No, that's X. And which means this should be Y. I'm using a Luna Steam Deck controller. I'm still learning a lot, so I don't know if there's an easy way to make it like magically read the buttons that match up with the controller you're using. So I decided to stick with this for now. And trust me, just getting it to look like this was way more of a pain in the of itself. Because the Godot docs didn't really feel too clear to me of what did what. I guess from a programming standpoint, if I can scroll through this without distracting too much. What I eventually decided on going with is making a function that trimmed a lot of the access text, because like normally this would read like joypad, button 0, bottom action, Sony cross button, Xbox A button, Nintendo B button. It would read all that and just clutter out this menu completely. And because I had a hard time reading the Godot documentation, it took me forever to figure out a way to just extract all that miscellaneous stuff from the code so I could just have these simple buttons. And as you might be able to tell, it's only set for controller rebinding and keyboard rebinding. That's why when I did it here, this is what it used to say in the controller rebinding. All of this, and you couldn't even see the action that you were mapping in the first place. Sorry, I just had to rant way too much about this key binding mess because like the tutorial was a mess. I ended up like splicing my knowledge from 2 separate tutorials to get it working the way I wanted, because not everything I wanted what was in the one tutorial, and the other tutorial like was a whole other thing. So like this menu was a bit of a pain to make because of all that. Like technically this is a whole separate screen from the main menu, when I'm positive one of the tutorials I was using had this options menu right in the title screen. Just to like go even if I don't include any of this ranting, I have to rant about all this because it's just I probably spent way more. I easily spent more time making this options menu than I did on the game itself. So unfortunately for you all, that's going to be the majority of the commentary for this video. But yeah, these other things do stuff too. Like it's going to mess up the screen recording, but I'm going to do it anyways. I can actually hit full screen. And you have to just take my word that it goes into a full screen mode instead of a window mode. No, for the sake of recording, I'm going to go back. But yes, just take my word that these other options also do things. Ah, screw it. I only have my code in the background. Oh! Right, I should have realized that's how my OBS was going to handle that. But it's a mess, but you can... It's a mess, made a mess of my recording, but at least you all saw that it works. And this is one of my favorite parts, because I like the music I use. I just basically scroll around royalty-free music in the YouTube audio library until I found stuff that I like. Unfortunately, it doesn't loop well. Like, more so in the fact that, like, as nice as the music is, it does get old and grating after a long period of time. So the fact that I can just adjust the volume from here instead of, like, manually... I forgot to show it off in the version 3 version, but I have, like, a little hack that if you press M, you just mute everything, and it's fantastic for programming. So I could actually just mute the game audio while I'm playtesting and like watch a stream or edit a video in the background. But now I don't have to do that. If I really want, I can just like slide this out all the way and just have the sound effects while I'm listening to a podcast or something. But for sake of demonstration, I'm going to leave that in. Last but not least are the general and advanced settings. The tutorial that I was working with has this little time trial mode. I might as well turn it on so I can show you all what it is. But I also have this cool feature. One of the last things I add was the ability to make a level select. As I was going through the tutorial on how to make save data for these options settings so you don't have to like rebind your controllers every time you boot up the game, I decided to take a little bit of what I learned from that to make a little level select. And now you can see a list of the canon names of the levels before we dive into it. And last but not least, this is the part I'm kind of most proud about. I could have sworn I had more settings, but maybe I forgot. So by default, how it typically works is, based on some feedback I got on version 3, I had this feature of if you press the jump button while you're dashing, you just go into free fall. If I implement everything I had planned for this might cause issues in the future, but that's a future me problem. Like, based on how I'm imagining it right now, it shouldn't be too hard to fix. This option was how it worked in version 3, where you can just dash twice to cancel your jump. And you know what, I'll have them both on for the heck of it. And this is kind of more of an accessibility / cheat, where if it's turned on, you can basically, you know, for demonstration purposes, I might as well just leave it on show rather than tell. And ironically, I think the time trial feature kind of slows the game down a bit, so I don't know if I'm going to include it in every level. Actually, thinking more about it, I will show off time trial later. It's actually a little distracting. So finally, we're getting into gameplay. It took long enough. So I had similar philosophy with the 3.0 build that we got going on here, just with a little extra visual flair. That's showing you can like press up to jump, but trying to assure that you can't actually jump, that you have to actually learn how to jump over platforms before you can progress. And we're already getting into new elements. First one is the cookies. The tutorial has that where you collect collectibles in order to clear the level. I didn't like that, and I already had the checkpoint system set up, so I decided to turn that part of the tutorial into a completion bonus. As you can see, every time I pause the game, I can see how many of them I collect. And where's my stomp button? Oh, I had it set to Y. I forgot about that. I'm so used to actually having the control set to R for dash and then right trigger for stomping. I almost forgot what the default controls were. But you see, you got cute little sound effects and little jingles to let you know when you collect everything. Oh, and I just completely glossed over the fact that now there's wall jumping. Like, that was something that was included in the tutorial, along with a double jump feature. And I was originally going to save them for, like, power-ups later on down the development line. But I like the wall jumping so much that I decided to just make it part of her toolkit by default. And I do some of these things with it later on. But just keep in mind, like, yeah, if you press the jump button when you're on a wall, you jump up it, you eventually slide down, but you only slide down so fast. And dashing works around with it too, but that's for later. Like before, we can't get through the bush here unless we stomp down. Unlike before though, it's instantaneous. And the slower moving bush floors, you'll see how they're implemented later on down the line. Now, before I get too into the level, I just want to show off time trial real quick. Unfortunately, it doesn't really do anything unless you in-game. I'm sure if people really like it, I can do more with it later. But for right now, it just keeps track of your time as you go through the level, tells you the time when you reach the end of the level, and once you move on to the next level, it's just forgotten and you never see it again. It's unfortunate because it disincentivizes you from collecting the... This is basically only here because it was part of the tutorial and I thought it was a nifty side feature. But I'm not opposed to expanding upon it in the future. Just for right now, it wasn't a priority. And trust me, I did have to fiddle around with it beyond what the tutorial told me to get what we have here. I don't think I don't know if the time shows up at the end of the level. I forget, I think I had to figure out how to get it to display in minutes and seconds and milliseconds myself. There's a lot more going behind the scenes with making this stuff besides just follow tutorials I saw online. It's just that tutorials were a baseline for me to later expand upon later. You know what? Okay, so yeah, I previously had set up for the completion to clear when you get 10 cookies. I just quickly updated that to the total number of cookies between all the levels. Most mental math that I've done all day, but I do want to show off that the level select does work. This did take us to the second level. Oh yeah, the little victory pose she does. That's new. It's not much, but I'm glad I put it in. Just adds so much personality to everything. I just kind of wish... I just hope that I somehow get around to making a full animation, but there's still quite a bit with spray art that I'm still learning. Well, I kind of breezed through that real fast, but that kind of just like forces the whole use dashing to get through spikes. We'll deal with that later. So that's the end of the level. Pretty basic level. I feel like I should have at least gotten one of the cookies on my way here. But the point being, if you actually want full completion in the level, you gotta put in a little more work. Oops! Hypothetically, I don't need that log to get the cookie, but I would like to show off what it's like regardless. So, it's okay, there's no live system or anything, we can just try it again. So, simply dash like here, reinforce that concept of stomping. As you can see, the logs are kind of like bushes, they burn. They just take longer to do so. Little fun thing under the hood, there's actually two types of logs. Ones that have a default burning, and one that can manually set the time for how long it takes before they burn up completely. That will come more into play later. You can see that's only like one of the cookies, so if we want the rest, we're gonna have to make our way down. Really get a hang of the whole sliding thing. I don't recall collecting 4 cookies, but apparently that was 4 cookies. Level complete. This is kind of where I'm like, you gotta work for the cookie completion bonus. Oh, we're getting into the fun little element that ultimately decided that I had to have wall jumping as part of default movement. So yeah, you can jump across the wall like this like usual, but you can also dash from side to side. And it's good for like resetting the speed that you slide down with, as well as quickly like zooming between either side of a wall when they're that close together. So I think there's multiple ways you can approach this cookie. That I just find the simplest. And here's like really assuming I don't just botch it. I was gonna say, give me a sec. Oh shoot, I did that backwards. You have to jump and then air dash. Everything's falling apart. I'm trying to make the game look easy to overcome my downfalls, and it's backfiring. Alright, so just... Key here is you want to jump, you don't want to dash, because if you dash, you burn the logs, and... What was that? What killed me? Why I reset? I thought I fixed that bug a long time ago. Of course it only shows up when I'm recording. Well, for now we're gonna pretend that didn't happen. If it comes up again, no, oh. You know, sorry, I gotta see if any sort of errors or anything particular pop up that might have, like, clue me into what the hell happened. Game design, am I right? It could be worse, I guess. It could, like, crash. Before I had a level select feature. And now I'm too distracted to actually play competently. Right, jump, dash, there we go. Now, the odd thing about the checkpoint system is that, like, maybe I'll get more into later. Alright, the tricky part, getting back. think if I just jump air dash and then wall jump my way up, it's not as bad as I made it out to be, but it is arguably more tricky than to actually get down to that area in the first place. That's part of the reason why it's optional, but still I kind of wonder if it's too, even for an optional area, I kind of ponder if it's too tricky for this early on in the game. I think we're at like level 3 at this point, and it's only like 5-6 levels in the game so far, so I guess it's not too bad, especially for an optional part. Oh, let me just die so I can show this off more quickly. This is the wall sliding level, and I'm so glad that my character works in a way to make something like this possible. So, the last optional area is kind of like semi-foreshadowing, something like this. First of all, you might think, well, if it's all vertical, then what's stopping me from, like, just stomping my way to the end? That! I thought about that. Now, I'm sure there's ways to cheese it regardless, but I think at that point, you've earned the right to actually beat the level if you can figure out a way to get past that. And that's the end of the level, but not all the cookies. As you might be able to see, the right path is the hard path. So let's give that a shot. So, as you can see, over there's a trap. You don't want to just, as much as you've probably gotten used to using the wall dash to ease your momentum, that could get you if you kind of time it wrong. Wow, that went by so fast I could barely even explain anything. Like, for one, that was the first instance of me making use of my ability to control how long it takes for the logs to burn away to make a dynamic level like that. Oh, it's the freaking air vent ones. Oh, I forgot to make this death wall invisible. Well, I'm leaving it in. It won't be in the final. I'll turn it off for the final game, but I'm not redoing the recording just for this. This is for educational purposes. Now you know how I make the death planes. I just take one giant spike and stretch it out until it's barely recognizable anymore. So, these are air vents. I kind of actually made them right before transitioning my project over to Godot 4. But not before I could actually make a level with it. So this is just a fun concept to make use of, like, the ability that she stomps the air vents and they make steam that push her upwards. Also, this is our first instance of checkpoints. I should grab one so you can see. You hit the checkpoint, and if we were to somehow die here, we go back to start. We also keep the collectibles we had before we die, even if we got them after the checkpoint. That latter point is a little too tricky, but now I kind of ponder if I should leave that in or not. Ah well, problem for another day. Now to figure out how to get this. Oh, I think I see. I think I know what I was wanting to do to get that. Alright, so there's 2 more to go. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna... I got a little distracted by everything. I forgot what I was gonna say. So, I've actually realized there's, like, multiple ways to clear for this level. And I'm, like, leaving it because screw it. That makes it more fun, in my eyes. Oh, yeah! You probably could tell already, but each of these air vents have, like, different ways. Or different amounts that they push you up in the air when you stomp them. And yet, I can make that a little more apparent by making them bigger and smaller. But it's not directly tied to that. It can be however I want. So, I can't believe we're already at the I think that was the penultimate level. What did I call it? Hedge hazard? But I actually made this level before the one we were previously using. And this is kind of like the ultimate test of the skills that you picked up throughout the game. If only to test your patience, because literally everything here is flammable, so you could very easily accidentally kill yourself. And that's part of the reason why I really wanted to get the checkpoint system working for this build, because otherwise a level like this would not be possible in the slightest. Again, not the only way to get that, but definitely one of the ways I've come across in playtesting. Alright. Well, I guess I could just burn that log and then climb my way back up. I guess that works too. But yeah, if I just like air dash it normally like I'm tempted to do when I'm sliding between two walls like that, easy way to screw myself over. Alright, so the overburn part is actually kind of over already. I guess there's like one more test. Right, I remember now. You gotta wall jump up here. And you either gotta move fast or stomp before you hit that log if you want to get the second last My Cookie. Why are they called My Cookies? Well, honestly that's a little too much lore for me to go into today. But the point stands that it ties to Overseer of the Element lore in general. Maybe I should have left that bush there. Oh well, I got the My Cookie, that's what's really important. And now I can show off. I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, there's too many elements here that I would call my favorite. But this is up there. So I'll have to like splice it in, depending on how I edit this, but okay. Before I forget, let's go clear the final level again. Oh, right. It takes a little second to load up, but as you can see, I'm gonna go to Hedge Hazard again to show off what happens if you beat the game without collecting all the My Cookies. Also, I never showed off the checkpoint system. I don't think it's... I was gonna say I don't think it's on, but I pressed the C button and it worked just fine. I could have sworn it also had set up where you could like click in the control stick. Oh, it's the right stick, not the left stick. But like if you're really struggling, technically there's this feature that lets you have a checkpoint at any time. I don't know how to properly I'm not sure how to balance it without making it turn into a challenge feature and not an accessibility feature. But for a little project like this, that part probably doesn't matter. Right, I'm just collecting all the My Cookies by instinct, but I don't have to do that. We're specifically trying to show off what happens if you don't get the cookies. Right, wall jump and then dash. Dash. I never actually showed off the fact that I can press jump to cancel the dash. There you go. Alright, final results. And that's the normal theme for beating the game. Eventually I want to make a little graphic. I know it makes it the completion bonus more special to have a graphic at the end. But I want to make a little drawing or two for the screen as well. I just been meaning to find a good point to like quote unquote have the project finish on, so I can take a little break and work on something else. Hopefully to have done in a couple months, but mostly because of the menu, it took me a lot longer than planned to get through all this. So I'm not sure if I have enough time to do that project now. But I wouldn't mind taking a little break from this just to give it an attempt. And I can always just come back to this early if I find out that my goal to try to make that in a month doesn't pan out. Sorry, I gotta be vague because because one, I don't want to promise something that I'm not sure will actually lead to anything. But two, it's a surprise, specifically for you YouTube people. Assuming that it pans out. Alright, time for the actual victory screen and the outro proper. Right, I could show off that, yes, the main menu button does work. Okay, wow. 18, and that was just for the second recording. I thought this was still a small game, but that was like half an hour compared to like the 10 or 12 minutes that the recording of the version 3, the Godot 3 version of the game took. Then again, I probably spent like 10 solid minutes just talking about the menus, so that'll add up. What we're about to see now should be the reward for collecting all the Maya cookies in the game. I drew a little victory screen. Maybe I can fiddle around with the text to make it a bit more visible, but you won! You collected all the Maya cookies! And it's got its own little custom jingle that plays as well. This is royalty-free music too. I think I actually found this outside the YouTube audio library, but I made sure it was royalty music, or royalty-free music before including it in the game. And I just thought it was a perfect little completion bonus jingle. So, I'm gonna do an outro here just to make sure. Just gotta remember to actually record the normal ending before I forget. So, I'm just so too used to outroing things like it's a Let's Play video. I'm just gonna do that now. If I really don't like it, I can just cut it out in editing, I suppose. Thank y'all for tuning in to this little showcase of the game that I've been working on. Let me know what you think. I've been JackitK, and until the next time we meet, take care. See you later, and take care. I'm probably gotta go get some water soon and rehydrate it. Starting to feel it a little. Okay. Oh shoot, that was the quit button, not the go back to main menu button. But hey, quit button does work. It doesn't just crash the game. It just seems that way because it's on a browser.